Hi, Kipsters. Yesterday, we read Ferdinand about a little bull, not a little bull, actually, he got pretty big, a bull who liked to sit in a special spot. Remember it was under that cork tree where he could smell the flowers? So my special spot is on my couch under a cozy blanket so that I could read a book or watch TV or cuddle with my dog Ruby. I want to know before we read, where is your special spot? My special spot is Kipsters. Those sound like really cozy and special spots. So I'm going to read our book today from my special spot in my house. And before we start reading, I need to tell you your thinking job. Today, your thinking job is to identify the setting in the story. The setting is where and when the story takes place. The setting is good. So we're thinking about the place, and we're thinking about like the time of day or the time of year. So I'm going to show you how I would identify the setting in the book Jabari Jumps. I'm going to look at the pictures, and I'm going to listen to the words to help me identify the setting. So on this first page that I'm going to show you, I can look at the picture to help me identify the setting. In the picture, I see that the characters are at the swimming pool. I know they're at the swimming pool because I see a pool and I see a diving board. There's also another clue in this picture that tells me where they are. In the background of the picture, I can see buildings. That tells me that they're in the city. If you look at another picture in Jabari Jumps, when he's really high up, let's see if I can find it, you can see a lot more buildings in the background. So Jabari is at the swimming pool and they're in the city. That's the setting. I can also tell more about the setting by telling when it takes place. So when you look at this illustration, does it look like it's the daytime or the nighttime? Yeah, it's the daytime. Does it look like it's summertime or wintertime? If it was wintertime, they would be wearing coats and they wouldn't be swimming at the pool, right? Yeah, it's summertime. So the setting in Jabari Jumps is the swimming pool in the city, and it's during the day in the summer. As we read Ferdinand one last time today, you're going to think about the setting. And in Ferdinand, the setting is going to change. So sometimes in stories, the characters go to different places. And we're going to watch for what the setting is at different parts of the story. And we're also going to think about, why does it change? Ferdinand, the story of Ferdinand by Munro Leaf. Once upon a time in Spain, I just heard the name of the country where Ferdinand lives. So where does the story take place? Yeah, it takes place in Spain. And remember, that's a country in the continent Europe. There was a little bull named Ferdinand. All the other little bulls he lived with would run and jump and butt their heads together. But not Ferdinand. He liked to just sit quietly and smell the flowers. He had a favorite spot out in the pasture under the cork tree. It was his favorite tree, and he would sit in its shade all day and smell the flowers. What does the illustration show about the setting? Yeah, Ferdinand lives by a tree, by a field, and he lives right by this castle. Remember we learned when we read that book about Europe, that Europe has castles. Ooh, Ferdinand lives by one. Sometimes his mother, who was a cow, would worry about him. She was afraid he would be lonesome all by himself. Why don't you run and play with the other little bulls and skip and butt your head? She would say. But Ferdinand would shake his head. I like it better here, where I can just sit quietly and smell the flowers. His mother saw that he was not lonesome, and because she was an understanding mother, even though she was a cow, she let him just sit there and be happy. As the years went by, Ferdinand grew and grew until he was very big and strong. Look at Ferdinand now. How has he changed? Yeah, he got big and strong and he grew up. All the other bulls who had grown up with him in the same pasture would fight each other all day. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. Oh, look, Ruby has joined us for the story. Will you lay down? I have to read this book to the Kipsters, so you have to go lay down. Okay?
Ruby!
Okay, back to the story. They would butt each other and stick each other with their horns. What they wanted most of all was to be picked to fight at the bullfights in Madrid. There they are looking at that poster, hoping they can fight in the bull ring. But not Ferdinand. He still liked to just sit quietly under the cork tree and smell the flowers. One day, 5 men came in very funny hats to pick the biggest, fastest, roughest bull to fight in the bullfights in Madrid. All the other bulls ran around snorting and butting, leaping and jumping, so the men would think that they were very strong and very fierce and pick them. Ferdinand knew that they wouldn't pick him, and he didn't care. So he went out to his favorite cork tree to sit down. This is the best part. He didn't look where he was sitting, and instead of sitting on the nice cool grass in the shade, he sat on a bumblebee. Well, if you were a bumblebee and a bull sat on you, what would you do? You would sting him. And that is just what this bee did to Ferdinand. Wow, did it hurt? Ferdinand jumped up with a snort. He ran around puffing and snorting, butting and pawing at the ground as if he were crazy. The 5 men saw him, and they all shouted with joy. Oh, here was the largest and fiercest bull of them all. Just the one for the bullfights in Madrid. Now, I keep hearing the word Madrid, and I see that it has a capital letter right here, so that tells me that it's a place or a city in Spain. So that makes me think that when the setting changes, that maybe they're going to Madrid. So they took him away for the bullfight day in a cart. What a day it was! Flags were flying, bands were playing, and all the lovely ladies had flowers in their hair. Kipsters, are they still in the pasture? That big field by the castle? And by the cork tree? Look at the illustrations. No, the setting has changed. Where are the characters now? Yeah, they're outside the bull ring in Madrid on the way to the bullfight. They had a parade into the bull ring. First came the bandoleros with long, sharp pins with ribbons on them to stick in the bull and make him mad. Next came the picadores, who rode skinny horses, and they had long spears to stick in the bull and make him madder. Then came the matador, the proudest of all. He thought he was very handsome and bowed to all the ladies. He had a red cape and a sword and was supposed to stick the bull last of all. Then came the bull, and you know who that was, don't you? Ferdinand. They called him Ferdinand the Fierce, and all the bandoleros were afraid of him, and the picadores were afraid of him, and the matador was scared stiff. Ferdinand ran to the middle of the ring, and everyone shouted and clapped because they thought he was going to fight fiercely and butt and snort and stick his horns around. But not Ferdinand. When he got to the middle of the ring, he saw the flowers in all the lovely ladies' hair, and he just sat down quietly and smelled. He wouldn't fight and be fierce, no matter what they did. He just sat and smelled, and the bandoleros were mad, and the picadores were madder, and the matador was so mad he cried because he couldn't show off with his cape and sword. So they had to take Ferdinand back home. If you heard in the words that they're going to take him home, is the setting going to stay the same or is it going to change? Yeah, it's going to change. Look at the illustration carefully so you can see exactly where the setting is. And for all I know, he is sitting there still under his favorite cork tree, smelling the flowers just quietly. He is very happy. What is the setting at the end of the story? Yeah, Ferdinand is back in the pasture. The setting is the pasture under the cork tree. Why is Ferdinand so happy? You guys are too smart. Yeah, because he is back in his favorite spot and he can smell the flowers and he doesn't have to fight. Now, do you guys want to see Ruby's favorite spot? She just came to say hi and then she found her favorite spot on the couch. You ready to see? She likes to sit on top of the cushion and on a blanket and be so cozy. And she's probably going to take a nap right now. So, Kipsters, before we are all done, I want you to act out some scenes at home. I want you to think of the setting when you're acting it out. So maybe you could like draw a picture of the cork tree or the castle and you can put it up on your wall, and then you can act out Ferdinand sniffing the flowers and Ferdinand sitting on the bee. Then you could draw the bull ring on a piece of paper and you could put it on your wall. And you could act out Ferdinand sitting in the middle of the ring and not fighting, just sniffing all those flowers. Kipsters, I hope you have a great day. Your teachers miss you and love you so much. See you next week.